this time around, we're actually going to explore the world of film photography. Yes, I said that. Film photography. Not your urban exploring video that you normally would see on the channel, but I figured a change up a little bit. There'll be more exploring videos coming soon, so don't worry. But this one will be mostly focusing on my dive into film photography that I've used with the Pentax cameras from Japan that were released over in the US, especially back in the early 1970s, all the way through the 80s, 90s, and to this day, actually. This is going to be my test run, so you may see in this video, disclaimer, that at the end of the video you may see me in different clothing, where I may be analyzing some of my film, because in the process, when you ever do film photography, you have to get your film developed. It's not the same simple process as a digital photography where you take a photo, you upload it onto a computer, you do any type of editing with your software, anything that you want to do. You don't have that option. But with film photography, you get to play around, test, and abilities that you can work around with film, something you can't do with digital anymore. So with that being said, I figured I'd go ahead and do a little video, maybe a little bit of history on the camera that I use. And I have some other film cameras as well that I have acquired, and I may do more videos on those cameras actually. And the camera I was thinking about showing you is the one that I just finished testing. I will show some photos of what I took before, and let me say that I have learned quite a bit, especially with exposure and aperture, because with this camera it's more, I wouldn't say not auto, because it's a mechanical camera. There's batteries, but it's for a light meter. So that's another thing. You have a light meter inside your rangefinder that you can actually, or viewfinder, that you can use to line up your speed, light, and everything to help you, do a photo without it being overexposed or underexposed. It's one of those things where it comes from one camera to the next, has a different type of way of doing it. Some have an auto option, some have more of a manual. This one's more of an auto. It's more aperture priority, I would say. So you really don't have to mess around too much with the speed. It's mostly you mess around more with the exposure, because you set your ISO mostly by what film you put into the camera, not so much of changing anything else. If you are brave enough or you know what you're doing, you can actually go down on your ISO and try to get more exposure with some of the film. But I actually attempted that my first time around, and let me say, I would not recommend that, especially if you're an amateur going into film, because I had a few photos that turned out great. I had quite a bit that did not turn out very great. You will see in the video, I will put them into the video of my before, and then I have some that I just took recently that will be added into the video. So more than likely you may see me in different clothing, because I'm updating you with the film, and it's another day because I had the film developed. Sometimes you have to wait because you have to drop it off. And you may see me playing around with the camera in the video as well, showing you some things outside, because I'm doing a lot of photography outside. So this inside video is mostly just talking about the camera that I use. And speaking of that, I have that with me right over here. It is the Pentax ME. This camera was introduced in 1977. It was part of the M series. And you can see right here, it's a very small, more compact version of the 35mm SLR film cameras that came out during that time. They were very considered amateur precise, like they would put it on the market mostly for people that were just getting into photography, people that were maybe in school, but they never, I guess they never figured, it is going to be a big market for it. But then they came out with an MX that has a little bit more options around the same time as the ME. Also, it was following the release of the Olympus OM1. I believe that came out in the early 1970s, actually 1972 is that's when that came out. So this came out later as something kind of close to that. I do not have no Olympus to compare that to, but this camera right here is the ME. I have a strap on it, but I currently have a 62 millimeter. It's a 28 by 85 millimeter lens. It's a micro lens, and I have fallen in love with this lens. And and it's a K mount. Speaking of K mount, a lot of the Pentax cameras about midway through the 70s switched over to a K mount, and they kept on with the K mount. And what's so cool about the Pentax is with the K mount, even with the older and newer cameras that came out with newer lenses or the older lenses, you can interchange them. So like you can just go get another Pentax camera, as long as it's a K mount, pop. So you can just collect a whole bunch of lenses from one camera and go decide you want to upgrade to another Pentax camera. There you go. And let me also say that you can have one of the best cameras out there, but if you don't know how to shoot with it, it's going to make the difference, because you can have something as simple as this camera, the ME, and you can just shoot really great with it without all the options. And speaking of that, I'm going to show you another camera right here. This is part of the M series as well. This is more advanced. This is the Super Program. In other countries, it's called the Pentax Super A, I believe. But this one right here is the one that was released in the US. There's, I think, Super A in Europe and Japan. Mostly came in black, I believe. This one right here has a lot more options on top. This one does auto that the ME does not do. This one has a LCD screen up top and has LCD in the viewfinder, so the light meter is a lot more updated. But it's a lot different than the ME, because the ME is a lot simpler to film with. This one, I'm still going to have to test out. I'm just trying to finish up with the ME so I can get more familiar with it, and possibly do another video with this camera after I get to play around with it. And so the Pentax ME is the MX, and then you also had, besides this Super Program, there was the ME Super that came out right after the ME. That one I do not have. It's basically the in-between model of those two cameras. That one is basically the ME with auto. It has a little bit more options. You see, whenever you search up ME, you're going to find ME Super everywhere. The shutter speed usually on this thing, on the ME, is like it's like 8 seconds to 1/1000 speed. Not too bad. I noticed that with this camera, with it being where you can't adjust it, it's by obviously the light. So if you want, like a little hack is whenever you film with it, especially if you want to do it outside or inside. If you want to do it outside, you obviously have to turn up the aperture, but it's more the light coming in than it is going out. So with that being said, that means the shutter speeds will be a lot faster. It's not going to be, it's going to let in more light if you're doing outside. Especially if you start the camera, if you take the cap off and start out immediately, it will bring in that light, and your speed's going to be a lot faster. Versus if you're doing it inside in a darker area, it's going to be a lot slower. And then you have to adjust to each one of those. You need to, think about exposure if it's going to be over or under. But I've noticed with this camera, even with some areas when it's bright outside, sometimes you might have to overexpose. It's all about practice, because like I said, this either any camera you get your hands on, it's different. But you learn it, and it also comes from like you kind of figuring out your own style with it, because some people will go in and overexpose to get a good photo, and then maybe you can edit it later, or sometimes the photo just turns out good. It's better with SLR cameras, with film, it's better to overexpose than it is underexpose. When you're doing digital, you want to do the complete opposite, because it's a little bit easier to edit, and once you mess it up, you can go in and fix it. It's a lot different. Digital to film to digital is so much different. I've come to realize that, because I dipped myself into digital not that long ago, using the Nikon 32, the D3200, I believe it was. That one I've used on the channel. I think you've seen in some of the videos where I've taken some. I actually did some videos on my channel with that camera before I got the actual DJI Action 5 camera that I use majority of the time. When you see me filming outside, and getting some wider shots and stuff like that, that's my action camera. Right now I'm shooting on a Sony A7 III. That one I don't use very much, but this one I'm using for my mostly inside shots, because I just wanted to be a little bit more crispier since I'm out inside. Yeah, I try to get some better lighting. I figured it'd just be a different setting compared to being outside, and you're kind of, you got the light, you don't have to adjust too much. You're on the move. Action cameras, I feel like, are a little bit better option for that. I know a lot of explorers use Sony, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Pentax. But anyway, I think the Pentax ME right here is a very good camera, especially if you want to start out with, using film, and it's a 35 millimeter. Of course, like I said, interchangeable lenses. You got the K-mount lens right here. You got the body right here. I acquired this bag right here. This is actually a vintage camera bag for the Pentax, actually. I think it's pretty cool. You have your top up here that you can put your camera in, sitting this way with your lenses, and you have a top pouch. And I think that's interesting because, you think about with a film camera, you think of vintage, right? So you kind of want something nice, Also, you can get something modern, it doesn't really matter, but I think with these cameras, you want to make sure you preserve and take care of them, compared to where you can throw in a digital camera into something a little bit more modern and not really worry too much about it. Speaking of that, speaking of modern, I have a bag right here. This is what I use when I do go out and exploring. This is my backpack. You probably see sometimes in the videos where I have my backpack on. This is not going to be a video talking about bags or what's in my bag, because I could do another video about that. But this one, I put my action cam in, all my accessories, lenses, because I do have the Nikon in here. My lights, whenever I need to film somewhere dark. I actually got my big light back in here that I missed out on my last video. If you saw the zombie tunnel video, I was using the mini light. I have a mini light for the action cam. Fortunately, I don't feel like it's bright enough. I have a light that I had got for the Nikon when I originally started shooting for my exploring videos, and come to realize that I want to move to the action cam option, but then I won't use it in the big light. Well, bringing it back just so that will fix that problem. But anyways, that's it really on the accessory part of the camera. I mean, obviously you can get lenses, you can get caps and stuff like that. That's another thing that's really cool about these cameras. You can widely find these any older film cameras like this pretty cheap. I mean, some of the most popular ones, like the Super Program, actually, it's crazy because it's a really good camera. If you look at the specs on it, like, I'm not gonna go over everything right now because this is most about me, but I'm just making a prime example that you can go and get this camera a lot cheaper compared to going and get the ME Super because the popularity of it. Just like there's other cameras out there that people go crazy for, like the Nikons, like the Nikon F cameras. Yeah, they're beautiful cameras. Yeah, they have, all the tech, the options with them. But you can get a little Nikon film camera like that Nikon EM, I believe it is. Has not many options, but it shoots great. So it's basically preference, I think. But you'll notice that, like, you can get you a lower end camera and use it and be good at it. Same thing with the lenses. I mean, it's a wide range of lenses, wide ranges of bags, caps, replacements. It's crazy, but yeah, I recommend if you ever want to get into film photography, Pentax. There's Pentax, there's Olympus, there's Nikon. I mean, there's so many brands out there that you can go with. Companies, and some of these companies still do film. Pentax is still out there. They actually came out with a camera maybe a few years ago, I think. I haven't really checked it out. Didn't want to really stick with the older models, but it's not like the digital where you're kind of figuring out if this one's going to have this new option or whatever. But the cool thing about the digital is you can film with that camera. These older film cameras, these are for photography. So that's the cool thing where you have that option where you can just go, okay, I can focus on photography. I don't have to worry about video. This is my focus. And then with a digital, you're kind of like, maybe I'll just keep it film priority, kind of like with the Sony right here. But yeah, I think that's cool though. You can have any option and whatever preference you want, and maybe y'all want to join me and have fun with it as well. So I'll catch y'all in the next video, and thanks for coming along and join me and get out there. And this was Fallen Hero Explorers.